It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
House Speaker Paul Ryan's epic failure to repeal Obamacare is more proof of what I've been saying for almost 2 years now. Paul Ryan's a globalist. He does not believe in putting America first. He does not believe in conservatism. And since globalists think the United States should be the equivalent of an unincorporated county under the jurisdiction of the United Nations, Paul Ryan is therefore incapable of leading the House of Representatives. There's a hue and cry across America now as everyone starts jumping on the bandwagon and calling for Paul Ryan to be replaced. But wait and listen. Paul Ryan's un-American activities spread over more than a decade. It just didn't start yesterday. I have published here on YouTube 14 separate videos on Paul Ryan. But first, let's take a look at what some of the voices are saying today, and I'll also tell you how he successfully booted former globalist House Speaker John Boehner out of office, and how you can help us do the same thing once again to Paul Ryan. We drafted a privileged motion to vacate the Speaker's chair, and we need you to help to ensure that sponsors in the House come forward and support it. A privileged motion is a House resolution that any member can sponsor, and it cannot be blocked by anyone else, including Paul Ryan. It has to come to a vote. The motion can be advanced to the House floor for an automatic vote, bypassing the committee process. This is in the rules. This is how we got rid of John Boehner, and we can do it again with Paul Ryan if enough Americans speak out in favor of it. So stay tuned, because I'll have instructions for you if you want to take part in this historic effort. If you want to see Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, become the Speaker of the House again in 2018, by all means, continue to give Paul Ryan the benefit of the doubt as he undermines the Trump agenda at every step for the next 2 years. But if you truly want to make a real difference in the fight to preserve our Constitution and our nation, then keep watching and take action. As I said, this is not a new topic for me. In fact, when you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll find that Paul Ryan's a regular target for our network of Patriots. This is the 15th video our team has produced calling for Paul Ryan to be dumped by the House so we can finally get an American who believes in conservatism, America first, and let's do it right now. Just check the description below for a link to my entire YouTube playlist of videos explaining in detail why we should have dumped Paul Ryan before, but it's never too late. We're here, we can do it. I've called for Paul Ryan to be fired because of his rabid support for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, sometimes called the TPP. I've also called for him to be removed for his Islamo-mania, by which he blocks all efforts to reduce the number of wild-eyed terrorist pseudo-refugees from Syria and other places in the Mideast, claiming that such protective measures are, and I quote, not our values. Well, allowing in unvetted Syrians who may be terrorists may, and I believe are, Ryan's values, but this is not an example of American values. Ryan has gutted Social Security to pay benefits to illegal aliens. He wants to bring back pork barrel earmarks this year and federal funds for global warming ripoffs that have tripled since Ryan was put in charge of America's budget. After 7 years of preparation for the moment when a Republican-controlled House, Senate, and White House could finally repeal Obamacare, Paul Ryan cheated America once again when he promoted socialist-based medicine instead of free market solutions promised to America by President Trump. So today, I'm no longer the lonely voice in the wilderness calling out for Paul Ryan to be fired. There's a lot of folks suddenly jumping on my bandwagon. For example, here was Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News last week. Take a listen.
I never put my faith in you, Ryan. I questioned you all through the campaign. When you distanced yourself from candidate Trump whenever you felt the prevailing winds blowing against Trump. To me, your loyalty was always in question.
Ouch! Did she call it tough or what? And of course, she's absolutely correct in her assessment. Paul Ryan is either incompetent or he is working against the conservative movement, and I think his track record shows that he's clearly a globalist and therefore cannot be considered to be an American because Americans believe in our national sovereignty, something Ryan wants to give away to the UN, the TPP mechanism, and literally any other global entity that promotes the false mantra of global warming or internationalism. There's a third alternative that I personally think is possibly the real reason. I can't say for certain. It's possible, though. It's possible this could be the real reason why he sold out America so many times. Ryan's been in office for 18 years. During those 18 years, he would have to have been a saint not to have at least been confronted by one honeypot or another. In the Beltway, there are always sinister forces trying to ensnare, entrap, embarrass, and shame. I think during his 18 years in office, he's been bent in one or more of these honeypots. To me, his voting record of continuous un-American legislation proves sufficiently that someone has something on Ryan that Ryan doesn't want the public to know. Paul Ryan needs to be fired, and that's why we have drafted this privileged motion to vacate the Speaker's chair, which will allow the Republicans to appoint a new House Speaker. As well, yet another Fox News host is also calling for Paul Ryan to be fired if he won't step down. Take a listen to Lou Dobbs just last week.
It is time for his party, if not the Speaker himself, to recognize his limitations, his decidedly poor judgment, and poor prospects for in any way finding a better way. I believe it's time for Ryan to vacate the Speaker's office.
The TV talking heads aren't the only ones calling for Ryan's removal. A senior GOP Senate aide tells Breitbart News, and I quote, "How can President Donald Trump trust Speaker Paul Ryan in the future after this failure? If he couldn't deliver on something so simple as repealing Obamacare, will he be able to deliver on complex pieces of legislation?" Close quote. And a source identified as one of President Trump's closest advisors said, and I quote, "There's only one course of action that should be taken to move past this Obamacare catastrophe, and this is a swift removal of Paul Ryan from the speakership." Close quote. After all, and you got to remember this, in the prior session of Congress, the House voted for 60 separate times to repeal Obamacare. So how did he miss the 61st time? How did it happen? It remains the question, how do we get rid of Paul Ryan? The same way we got rid of John Boehner. We showed Congress our overwhelming opposition to Boehner, and eventually his support eroded until Boehner was forced to step down. If Boehner had not resigned, he would have been voted out under the privileged motion procedure in the House, which was submitted by Congressman Mark Meadows. Meadows is the current chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. Make no mistake about it, John Boehner was fired by patriotic Americans who spoke out and drove Mark Meadows to the point where he suggested that Boehner had to go. As I said, we can do the same thing to Paul Ryan now, and you can be a part of it. We have drafted a new privileged motion to vacate the Speaker's chair, and you can download it and read a copy of it on our action page today. A privileged motion can be offered by any representative, and it cannot be blocked by a committee or by the House Speaker. When the sponsor decides to do so, the motion is advanced to the floor for an immediate vote. This privileged motion rule was drafted by Thomas Jefferson back in the 1800s, and it's been in effect in the House ever since. Paul Ryan actually tried to abolish the Jefferson Rule, as it is known. He tried to abolish it from the House Rules and Procedures because he wanted to prevent himself from being fired like John Boehner was fired. If we continue having epic failures like Paul Ryan's fake Obamacare repeal bill, Nancy Pelosi will be the Speaker of the House in 2 years when Ryan throws away the Republican majority. This is why Paul Ryan needs to go, and he needs to go now. So, how can you help? Well, go to our action page and start sending personalized letters to Congress. Tell the members of Congress to support our new privileged motion to vacate the Speaker's chair and fire Paul Ryan. Bob Mallory will have instructions on the next screen to let you know how to get to our action page and become your own action hero. This is Charles Benninghoff, signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many blessings.
button. If you're on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program and send personal letters to Congress. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find the link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.